Hello and welcome to How to Automotive. Today I'm excited because my favorite tool from Milwaukee has just got upgraded. So the second generation Milwaukee right angle die grinder is here. We're going to get it out of the box. I'm going to show you the comparison side by side. Then after that we're going to take it out to the shop and put it to work. See what the difference is between the two. This tool had a few little limitations on it. Even with those limitations, it was still an amazing tool, and I use it every day for the last 5 years now. And so now I'm excited to get the Generation 2 out of the box and put it to work. So let's do that right now. All right, so here's the initial out of the box. Here you can see the difference. Main difference right away is the trigger. The trigger has been completely redesigned. There's a few other features I wanted to go over with and show you. When we do put it to work out in the shop, we're going to be doing it with the same battery. So this is the high output 5 amp hour battery, and I got a brand new one here. I'm going to get these all charged up, and we'll go out in the shop and we'll put the two side by side and use them on the same task side by side and see the performance difference as we go along. All right, the first thing I wanted to talk about, a while back, Milwaukee sent out a bulletin recommending that you use the high output batteries with the die grinders. They're designed a little bit more for this type of tool. They have better cooling and stuff, and heat was the biggest thing on these. When they got hot, shut down for a few seconds and let it cool off for a few seconds, and it would start working again. And this battery does much better with the heat cycles on that, so they recommend the high output batteries. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to run these both with high output batteries. So right off the bat, you can see the head size is slightly larger on the new generation. It has a 0.4 horsepower motor. This has I believe a 2.5 horsepower motor, if memory serves me right. So you almost double in power. But one of the biggest features you can see right away is the paddle switch versus the new switch here. This one still has a safety. You'll have to flip the switch and then pull the trigger. This one's the same thing, and this was a paddle. A lot of people did not like the paddles switch here. I personally did not have a problem with it. I used it every day and never had an issue with using it, and I didn't find it that difficult or off to use. Another thing you notice is on the Generation 1, the battery life indicator or fuel gauge is here on the side of the handle. So if you're using it like this, you have no idea if the battery is going dead or not. They relocated that fuel gauge to the back of the unit here. The mode setting is on the back as well on both of them, but this one's just a little bit different. You just push the one button here and to select. So you select modes, and it just slows the RPMs down for fine control on whatever projects you're working on. I pretty much used both of these tools. I'll probably use them in mode 4, which is the full power, and didn't just use the variable trigger. Same thing on this one, variable trigger, to control it and do whatever you're working on. That way when you're grinding or buffing or whatever, you can just variable trigger it. And the modes are nice, but this is a feature I don't really use a whole lot on either tool. As you can see, the height wise, it's almost exactly the same. It's a millimeter or so, a couple millimeters taller, but not much. The grip is changed a little bit. This has a more ergonomical, I want to call it a pistol grip style, where your thumb fits in there nice versus the barrel style here. So another great feature that I'm really pumped about is the one chuck key colic here. So on this one here, you have a push lock. You push the button here on the bottom. Right here, you push that, and then that will lock the colic, and then you're able to use one wrench to change out your chuck. So on this one here, you had to have 2 wrenches minimum. You had to hold it like this and then crack it free. Now you notice it doesn't pop right off. On Milwaukee's design, you have to spin it out all the way till it gets to the second notch on the colic and crack it free, and then it'll pop out. So it's kind of a feature that Milwaukee has. And then once you tighten it up, you just have to tighten it one time. So we'll change it out here and compare it side by side. So this one here, you just crack it free by pushing the button, spin it. It's the same thing. You're going to have to spin it until it goes out and then crack it free the second time, swap it out. Now you can swap out your bits. Same thing, keep holding the button and tighten it up, and you're ready to go. So now you gotta line up the wrench, crack it free, spin it to the next colic, and then take it out. And another feature I wanted to share with you was the new LED lights. So on the Generation 2, they relocated the LED lights from the base of the handle here to the headstock here. And people have made some comments about it being here. When you have a larger disc here, you won't be able to see. But just wanted to remind you, the old school ones had no lights at all, and we didn't complain about them, and we used them all the time, and they were great. So it's just bonus that they have a light. Even with something in front of it, you can see the light right here. I'll turn the lights out. So I got the light turned out, and you can see the light ring. It produces a pretty good amount of light all the way around the tool. Here's the Generation 1. So it only lit this area here, so basically you're only seeing the backside. So I think it actually does do a better job of lighting up the work area. There is a little bit of a shadow, but overall I think it does a better job than the Generation 1. And like I said, the old school pneumatic ones, they didn't have a light at all to work. So I'm going to put the two tools side by side to work on a little project I'm doing. I got a cattle panel here that I need to weld to a gate that I'm going to install. As you can see, there's a lot of stuff going on here. We got trenching going on for a project we're doing out back. And so busy. Anyways, what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark this out where I need to grind off the paint on all the spots where I'm going to weld around. So I'm going to mark it real quick, remove the panel, cut it to size, and then I'll buff off all the paint, and I'll use the two tools side by side. One of the things I'm curious about is because it has a bigger motor, is it going to run the batteries down faster? How long is it going to last? With the bigger motor, is it just going to power through those things where it doesn't bog down? What the Generation 1 would have, occasionally would bog down, especially when the batteries got hot and the motors got hot, it would bog down. So I'm going to see if the new Generation 2 runs cooler, doesn't shut down as often, and see how fast it burns through the battery. So that's going to be kind of the test with this here. All right. We're going to grind one off with the Generation 1 here, buff it off. All brand new batteries, it's fully charged. So we're going to get started. Just buff the paint off. So these are spots where I'm going to weld it. So all right, that's the Generation 1. Let's get the Generation 2 out and see exactly how it performs. So as you can hear me working the variable trigger here, you can really tell that the full power mode is not having any problems buffing this paint off. It also runs slightly slower RPMs than the Generation 1 at 20,000 RPMs. Generation 1 ran at 25,000 RPMs on mode 4. But the slightly slower RPMs doesn't seem to be affecting the performance of the tool. All right, so I've done more than half of it already, and not a single bar has gone down on the fuel gauge, which is a pretty amazing, considering how much grinding I'm actually doing. It's not very super hard. I'm gonna bear down on this one right here and really bear down on it and see if I can bog the tool down. So I'm really pushing down hard on it. So hard that it's turning the metal blue. It's getting really hot. Now I wouldn't do that on normal, but I just want to show you guys. But I mean, I'm really pushing down hard. So I'll get to generation 1 and I'll do the exact same thing. I'll bear down on it just as hard. See how it bogs down and stops, and I have to let go of the trigger. So I can definitely feel the difference. It just shredded that bit off right there. The roll off disc. Just shredded it. That's crazy. So this thing has some torque and some power, and it really is making a difference. You can see the difference. You can hear the difference in it stops. That's generation 1. Generation 2, which I need to put a new roll-lock disc on. Hold on, I'll show you in just a second. So guys, coming from somebody that has a lot of experience using these tools, there is a dramatic improvement and change in the generation 2. I mean, just by just doing this right here, you can hear the difference between the two. And if I bear down, I can really bog this tool down and this tool here. It doesn't bog down. It just keeps ripping and tearing. All right, I got a piece of scrap metal here. I'm gonna make some cuts with the 2 die grinders, generation 1, generation 2, and you wanna listen to the RPM change and stuff. I'm gonna use it in mode 4, full power, and make a few cuts on this scrap metal here and see how much the generation 1 versus the generation 2 struggles. All right, let's get busy. Generation 1 first up. We're gonna make just a cut across. So here we go. And it bogged. I'm at full power right there, and it bogged completely. Stopped. I have to release the trigger. This is where the tool struggles. It gets hot and it stops right there. All right, so now we're going to do the exact same thing, but with the generation 2. And see what the difference is with the cut. Here we go. I've actually made it all the way through the metal. In generation 1, I never actually made it through. So you can see right there a big difference. It never bogged, and it's cutting really fast. So I can feel the tool getting hot, generating heat. But it's actually cutting through the metal. A huge, huge difference. Generation 1 struggled and it didn't make it through. So right there alone, worth the money, the upgrade right there. All right, one last thing I want to share with you is the battery life. So after doing all that grinding and cutting, the generation 2 only used up 1 bar, and the generation 1, I didn't quite use it as much, and it used up 1 bar as well. So battery life is pretty consistent with the generation 1. Actually, I'd probably say it's probably a little better on the generation 2 because I use it double the amount as I did the generation 1. One other thing I'll let you know about is the heat from the generation 1 and the generation 2 is a lot different. The heat on the generation 2 is a lot cooler, so it appears to have bigger fans in here for cooling versus the small little fan that you see here. All right, guys, there you have it. The new Generation 2 will be coming out here in about a month or so. As soon as links are available, I will link it up in the description. In the meantime, I will link up the Generation 1 if you want to pick that up. You can probably find some good deals on this right here. I'm Brian-esl from How to Automotive. I'd like to thank you guys for watching and encourage you to subscribe. Thank you again.